Welcome to the AxeCast podcast. Conversations with interesting people from the world of Acadia athletics and more, talking about their lives, successes, and failures. And now let's join hosts Len, Holly, and Eric Cedarberg for the next 15 to 20 minutes as they dive into the life of today's guest.
This week on our AxeCast, one of the all-time great women's soccer players from Acadia University, Cindy Tye, who arrived at Acadia in 1990 as Cindy Montgomerie. So Cindy, take us back. First of all, welcome to the AxeCast. Glad you could do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take us back pre-1990 and your decision to make your way to Wolfville. How did that all come about?
Sure. I was in at CEC in Truro, and I had attended a number of Legion leadership camps that was on campus at Acadia with my family at the time, and just sort of grew up on that campus. And Laura Saunders, of course, was there, and they were a powerhouse program at the time, and attracted me. The small school attracted me, and the power of the education, the program brought me there.
It's interesting you talk about Acadia soccer being the powerhouse when it is. And I've always had this discussion about prospective student athletes and where their mindsets are in terms of, do you want to go somewhere that has a winning reputation, or do you want to go somewhere where you're going to help build a winning reputation? For you, it was about the winning reputation.
I mean, I think there's a few factors in play. I really saw myself on a smaller campus. I think that was a big thing, and I had grown up on that campus through other really very good experiences I had. And I think too, I was looking for an experience where a lot of my really good friends actually went to Dalhousie, and a lot of my teammates, and which is a great choice as well. But I met a lot of new people at Acadia on campus. I hadn't played with a lot of them before, so that combined with the strength of the program attracted me there.
You talked about, the strength of the program, making that decision. That was part of the decision to come there. But Acadia was a powerhouse during your 5 years. You were a conference all-star all 5 years that you were there, won other personal awards. Just talk about that whole experience under Laura's leadership and what you remember most about it.
Laura, she taught me a lot. You go through ups and downs when you come in as a new student athlete, and I was no different in that way. And I had a lot of natural ability. I was a hard worker, but Laura taught me a lot about really what it meant to dig in and push me into a leadership role. And I was, when I came in, I felt more of a lead by example type of person. And she really pushed me to find my voice and step out of my comfort zone that way. So I learned a lot from her there in that program.
Would you give her credit on maybe pushing you towards soccer as a career right now? Yeah,
I mean, for sure. I mean, Laura, it's like she just did everything at 1,000%, and I hadn't met very many people like that. And being in that time too as a female coach of two programs, and it never dawned on me that it would be a bit unusual to be a female in your career, as a coach, because I had one, and she did it, and she did it really well, and she did it very passionately.
Are there things for you, Cindy, in your 5 years at Acadia that jump out when you think back? I mean, it helped shape who you are and all that sort of stuff, but are there specific things, whether it's in the classroom, in the community, or on the pitch? Are there things that just jump out at you when you think back?
Yeah, I mean, definitely my first year was we won the national championship there, and of course that's going to stand out in your mind as a performance thing. And I think I didn't get a chance to truly appreciate it because I was a first-year student athlete and didn't understand, all of the work that had gone into that prior to make that happen. I was happy to be part of that. There's people, I remember too, Don Wells was a big part of me being at Acadia, and I just remember his investment in the programs. He was always around, and he was willing, to reach out whenever he needed anything. But there's a lot of the support staff there too that made a big impact on me in the classroom, because a lot of them I work with, like the Jim McLeods, I also had him in the classroom as well. So there was a lot of crossover there that was really helpful.
You graduated in 1995, which would have been my first year working at Acadia.
Yeah, way back.
And I can retire in September of this year, so that's yeah. But what happened between that time and 2001 when you started playing as a national team? Kind of that space where it's just, and it's funny when people look at people's, bios and resumes, I'm always curious, and always curious to ask. And maybe it's a part of your life you don't want to remember, but I guess what I'm trying is, how did you get yourself to the national team and in that 2001 that team that year?
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was a roller coaster too. I was, part of the sort of in and out in terms of training camps, and I was released and sent home. And when I left Acadia, I left behind, I thought, the chance to play with a national team. But, I kept on playing competitively with my friends and club. And honestly, it just so happened that there was a coach changeover in the national team. We went to club nationals a number of times with that group. And he identified me, and I was 28, and I was like, I was teaching at the time, and it was a very different time in my life. But you know what? You take the opportunity, which I did, and I'm really glad that I did, because I met a lot of great people and changed my perspective too on the game, because I get to travel quite a bit and learn a lot more.
It sounds so funny. 28 to me is so young, but sometimes in the world of professional sports, you're in the middle of your career. Like when you look back on it, being 28 years old and then getting your opportunity, because the natural fit would have been, you leave in 1995 from university and you sort of transition. But as Eric said, there was that 5 or 6 year gap. And when you reflect on it, are you surprised that you had that opportunity at that stage in your life?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I honestly, I walked away from the game too. I took some time off. I actually, after my first year at Acadia in the summer, I played basketball instead, played provincial basketball. And so there was a time after I left Acadia too, where I just took a little break, because, being a competitive athlete is very regimented. And I had to discover, sort of rediscover why I like to play. And honestly, it was the friendships of the kids, the group that I was with, brought me back, and the love of the game. I started to really get into, physical fitness. Not that I wasn't before, but, when you're working full time and you're doing those things, it looks a little bit different. And I enjoyed it. I really started to enjoy it again. So when they asked me to attend training camp, he said, would you like to come up to Ottawa? I remember it was in December, and I was like, sure. Like, why not?
You know what?
I'm really glad I did.
There's there's the players that make that jump from university to the national team. Then there's players like you, and this is the second or third time I've heard that similar story. And I think it's, I think that perseverance through that time that makes a difference for you to be on that team at 28 years old and a mature woman, or athlete. Yep. Because we were talking with Andrea Burke last week. Andrea, a rugby player, same thing. I asked her, what did you do between this time? And she persevered. She wanted to be in that position of being in a national program, and she did. So, for yourself, hats off to do that.
Yeah, it's put a lot of miles on the feet there. That's for sure.
Cindy, you're so well respected by, your former teammates, and obviously, youth that you coach, and both, in the community and at the university level, and such a mentor. You're part of the Nova Scotia Sports Hall of Fame, being inducted there a decade ago, and in the Acadia Sports Hall of Fame, and at home in the Truro Sport Heritage Society's honor roll. I mean, when you look at all these personal accolades, how much does it mean to you to know that you're going to be a mentor to so many young female athletes that want to play this sport?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's funny. I was reflecting. Of course, I'm spending a lot of time at home now with my kids, and we're talking about different pathways in sport and what it means to them. And so when I was growing up, I played in the boys teams, because there wasn't girls teams at the time until I was like, 13, 14, 15 years old. So it took me a long time to come to the fact that sport wasn't like, part of my life. It's like, it is my life. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way. I mean, just pretty much everything I've done has revolved around it, and all my friendships and education, all those things have revolved around sport. So if I can help somebody see that there's a pathway in sport, as a female, whether it's an athlete or a coach or in another role, and happy to do that.
I like to think that we've made these tremendous strides when it comes to females in any sports. And when you reflect on your growing up playing youth, playing university in the early 90s, have we come as far as, I mean, I know there's a lot farther to go, but have we come as far as I think we have?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, statistically, I don't think so. If you look at the numbers in terms of, females in head coaching positions in that way, and I think there's been a lot of strides made in the equity in females in male sports and how they're represented and at institutions for sure. I know at Acadia, we are always well represented. I'm at Dalhousie now. It's the same. I think the female athletes have come a long way in that. But in terms of leadership positions, I think we still have a ways to go. And there's an opportunity part, but I think there's also, an education piece that it's possible. And, that you do have a pathway. We need to form those pathways and let them be known that this is an option for you to do this.
Cindy, we all know what we want as an end result, but do you have some thoughts on what do we need to change? What are sort of the next steps to make these changes happen so that we get to the point that you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just left another call on a female mentorship part. I do think there's a piece of it that mentorship does play a huge role, and we don't sometimes trying to find a way through that and what that looks like is difficult. If you can see it, you can be it sort of thing is one of the things that I think about. I also think we have to be careful that we don't take away the diversity of, representing, coaching or leading or whatever. A lot of my mentors are male, and they are great, and they have been wonderful for me and taught me quite a bit. But there's value in making sure there's opportunities for females to lead and helping them to be better risk takers to start before, they think they're ready. And I think that's a huge education piece with, some of our young females. Girls typically take a stock and, I'm prepared for that, or I think I check all those boxes when, more often than not, I have a son and a daughter, and he'll jump first, ask questions later, and she'll ask questions first and jump. Yeah. We need to start develop that risk taking, that I can do it.
And now it's time for Eric's Cut to the Chase 5 questions.
Well, I think we come to that point that I have questions for you, and the questions that I'll throw at you. I like them because they kind of pull out some character about you.
Okay.
And so we'll
I'm a bit nervous, Eric. I'm a bit nervous.
Well, I know. I don't. You know what? I still scare people. But then again, I've had also the questions where I just get silence from the person and they kind of contemplate. So we'll throw the first one in, and I gave you a heads up on some of these. Did you think about any of them?
Oh, yeah. No, I did.
Good. I'm going to go with the first one.
Okay.
What's the most embarrassing moment in your life so far?
Oh, my gosh. The most embarrassing moment. Well, oh, Eric,
you're only the second person I've asked that to.
Oh my gosh, I don't know, because I've had so many.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
What she's trying to say here is that she does not want to tell any of these stories.
That's okay. That's okay. I can go move on to the next one. I won't put you in an embarrassing moment. Unless there's something that sticks out, because there are some answers I've got which are just kind of chuckle.
Oh, really? Yeah, no. I mean, I'm known for mixing some names up, so that could be one. But I've done that so many times and in so many different forms, I can't say.
Okay, here's one for you. 3 words to describe Cindy Tye.
Oh, okay. I would say positive, enthusiastic, and I can be pretty funny sometimes.
Funny. I do recall that humor. It's a bit of a dry humor.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, what's the most scared you've ever been in your life?
Oh, for real?
For real scared,
Oh, I've come back on a few flights that have been pretty scary. Fear for my life coming back through Boston. Yep.
The flights. Okay. We had one person describe Danny Frame going across the road on his bike when he was a kid and almost getting hit by a car, and that was the scariest time in his life. So,
yeah,
okay.
More flying for me.
I'm not going to throw that one at you. That one's questions there. All right. If you could be one person, if you could switch lives with one person in the world, who would that be?
Oh, wow. I'm
starting to feel like I didn't send you these questions.
Yeah, no, you didn't. I'm like, what?
Are you like a busy person or something? Or?
Yeah, I'm a pretty busy person.
I know.
I think it would be super interesting right now to be in Justin Trudeau's shoes, just to see what the ins and outs are happening there.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want
just for a day.
You wouldn't want to be in the shoes of Donald Trump right now.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Right. And last question I'm going to throw at you here. Who do you think we should interview next?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Acadia alum, teammate.
Yeah, there's a lot of great Acadia alum for sure. I don't know if you reach back into any coaches. I see Dave Nutbrown walking around quite a bit.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate interview? Dave Nutbrown or Laura Saunders, or maybe both of them on at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Do them both at the same time.
That would be good. Yeah. And I'd tell you one coach, Laura Saunders, there's Laura Saunders, and then another coach I saw this fall when the 96 men's soccer team was inducted was John Kehoe. And I think you knew John pretty well too, didn't you? You played for him at one point?
He coached me for decades.
Right. And it was just so nice to see him. And I'm like, he'd be another interesting person to interview, because I'd find John he's in the shadows, but he's such an interesting person. And I figured, if I recall, like I know the years that I used to organize the Gun Ballerson, and he would always pressure me, you got to put a senior women's conference in, or league, or division. And I'd say, okay, John, you bring in the teams. And then I would recall seeing Cindy Tye on the pitch playing for John.
Yeah.
Kehoe, right? So
yeah, he would be great. He was a contrast coming from him and going to Laura, and they both, they very different styles, the two of them. But
and I guess as a Truro native, you would have played in the Gun Ballerson a lot too, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which I guess the first year this year that it'll be canceled, and that's I think that's 2 years, consecutive years, which is just crazy. So
so much.
Cindy, this has been great having you on the AxeCast this week, and you check all the boxes for what Acadia stands for. Acadia Athletics. A great athlete, a great student, and a great leader in the community. And you continue to do that today. And you can be sure that your Acadia peers are proud of you. And so glad that you've done this with us, and really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's great to get through the summer with a lot of the different alumni from you guys.
Thank you.